They called him a barbarian, a savage, a madman. But to his people, he was a protector, a warrior king who stood against the most powerful empire of his time, and won. His name was Behanzin Boel, King of Dahomey, the Shark of the Atlantic, and the last true warlord to face down the full force of the French Empire in West Africa. But today, few remember him. Few speak his name, because the pages of colonial history were written not by the defeated, but by the victors. This is the story they try to erase. In the heart of West Africa, where the Red Earth meets the Atlantic coast, rose one of the fiercest kingdoms in African history, Dahomey. Centered in what is today southern Benin, the Kingdom of Dahomey thrived for centuries. Its kings ruled with divine authority. Its army was feared across the region. And it was one of the few African states where women fought as elite warriors, the Agojie, known by outsiders as the Dahomey Amazons. By the late 19th century, European imperialism had become a tidal wave, swallowing up lands, people, and kingdoms in its path. The French had already taken Senegal. They had carved through Guinea and begun to press down into the oil and palm-rich regions of modern Nigeria and Benin. But when they turned their eyes to Dahomey, they did not expect resistance like this. In 1889, Behanzin ascended to the throne. He was not the first choice of the French. In fact, the French had backed a rival claimant, Agojie they saw as more malleable. But Behanzin seized the throne with confidence. His coronation was defiant. The air smelled of palm oil and gunpowder. Drums echoed through the royal compound in Abomey. And in the center of it all stood a man crowned not only with gold but with fury. Behanzin understood the game France was playing. They came under the guise of trade, protection, and diplomacy. But behind their smiles were warships. Their treaties were chains. And their roads led only to conquest. At first, Behanzin tried diplomacy. He honored trade relations, even allowing some French settlements to remain. But it became clear that France was tightening the noose. In 1890, they claimed Cotonou, a key port city in Dahomey, without consent. When Behanzin resisted, France accused him of violating their treaty, a document written in French, never fully translated, and never accepted by the Dahomey royal court. That was the spark. What followed was the First Franco-Dahomeyan War. Behanzin mobilized an army of over 12,000 warriors, including nearly 2,000 of the fearsome Agojie. These women trained from youth, running barefoot through thorns, learning to fight with cutlasses and muskets, and to kill without hesitation. European observers called them the most terrifying women in the world. In July 1890, the Dahomey army struck at Cotonou. The battle was fierce. French soldiers, trained in modern tactics and equipped with advanced rifles and artillery, were caught off guard by the speed and ferocity of the Dahomey charge. The Agojie flanked them through the dense forest. Smoke curled into the sky. French reports recorded heavy losses. Though the French held Cotonou, it was a Pyrrhic victory. But the empire would not be deterred. In 1892, France returned with a vengeance. General Alfred Amédée Dodds, a seasoned commander of mixed African and French ancestry, was sent to crush Dahomey once and for all. He brought thousands of troops, advanced artillery, and the full weight of colonial firepower. But Behanzin did not flee. He prepared. He summoned his generals. He called upon the gods. He sent runners to rally every able-bodied fighter. The royal city of Abomey became a war camp. Spears were sharpened. Fortifications were built. And the king made a vow before his people, "I will never be the king of a slave people. We will not bow." The war that followed was brutal. In November 1892, French forces marched on Dahomey. The heat was oppressive. Disease stalked every step. But even more terrifying was the resistance they met. Ambushes, traps, nighttime raids. The Dahomey army turned every village and forest path into a battlefield. At the Battle of Dogba, The Agojie fought with such ferocity that entire French columns faltered. A French officer wrote in his diary, "They come like shadows from the trees, like spirits in the night. We kill one, and 3 more take her place." But the French had Maxim guns, deadly early machine guns, and Behanzin's warriors, brave though they were, fought with outdated muskets and machetes. Slowly, the tide turned. In December 1892, the French reached Abomey. Behanzin refused to surrender. Rather than let the sacred city fall intact, he ordered it burned. Palaces that had stood for centuries, rich with the art, heritage, and soul of the Dahomeyan people, went up in flames. Smoke rose over the savannah like a funeral pyre. Behanzin retreated north with the last of his loyal fighters. For months, he waged guerrilla war against the French, harassing their supply lines, disappearing into the bush, reappearing in the night. His spirit was unbroken, but supplies ran low, allies faded. And in January 1894, Behanzin surrendered not out of weakness, but to spare his people further destruction. He was exiled first to Martinique, then to Algeria. Far from home, he lived the rest of his life as a prisoner of empire. He died in 1906, his body wrapped in silence. Today, his royal lineage remains in Benin. His descendants still live in Abomey. His palace ruins still whisper the memory of a king who defied Europe's might. But textbooks rarely speak his name. Museums gloss over his resistance. And in the official records of the French Republic, he is labeled a rebel. But was he? Or was he a freedom fighter before the term existed? A king who dared to dream that his people could remain free in the age of empires? In 1994, nearly a century after his defeat, France returned Behanzin's royal throne, crafted in the shape of a shark, his royal totemto, the Republic of Benin, a symbolic gesture. But the scars of conquest run deeper than thrones. Even now, much of Dahomey's sacred art remains in European museums. The debate over restitution continues. The full history of resistance remains buried in the colonial archives. But listen closely, in the oral traditions of the Fan people, in the chants of the griots, and in the silent pride of the warriors' descendants, you will still find his story. Kept alive not by empires, but by memory. And perhaps that is the greatest defiance of all. But the question lingers. Many other African leaders, like Behanzin, were buried beneath the weight of colonial lies. How many warriors, generals, and queens fought for freedom only to be painted as villains in foreign books? In our next documentary, we explore another forgotten rebel, the warrior queen who faced down both the British and her own people in Nigeria's forested heartland. But for now, if you believe stories like King Behanzin's deserve to be remembered, if you want to uncover more hidden truths from Africa's erased past, then like this video, subscribe to History Off the Map, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because the real history is rarely the one we're taught,